Our top military officials are now turning against Donald Trump, and it is clearly getting inside his head. Last night and into the early hours of the morning, Trump went on an unhinged posting spree on Truth Social after his attempts to expand his illegal military operations were blocked by senior military leaders. He believed he could fill every level of government with loyal yes men, but that plan has failed. And this time, it's blowing up in the worst possible way for him. Trump is desperately relying on distractions like Cuba, Greenland, and Venezuela to divert attention from the Epstein files, but it isn't working. That's why he's melting down. We're going to break everything down. But before we do, please leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because it really helps support our work. Now, before we get into Trump's posts and the generals rejecting his unlawful orders, I want to start with someone who explained the context of Trump's plans in Greenland, Senator Chris Murphy.
So what you are essentially talking about here is the United States going to war with NATO. The United States going to war with Europe. I kind of can't believe that I'm going to talk to you about the consequences of invading Greenland, but I am, because you have to take Trump seriously now. Nobody thought that we were going to be invading Venezuela or running their country a few months ago, and now we are. So he says he wants Greenland. He says he's keeping the military option on the table. So let's just talk about what that means. Here's what you need to know. It's sort of a basic thing. Greenland is a part of Denmark. Denmark is a NATO country. And the NATO treaty says that if any member is attacked, then all the other members have to come to their defense. So what you are essentially talking about here is the United States going to war with NATO. The United States going to war with Europe. You're talking about the US and France being at war with each other over Greenland. We can't sort of sugarcoat this. Like, that is what we're talking about here. Now, every NATO country would have to make a decision whether they were going to rush troops to Greenland to fight America. Some maybe wouldn't, some might. Who in the United States of America wants a war between the United States and Europe over Greenland? And Donald Trump, he just sees the world in terms of real estate, right? He's not trying to fix any of your problems. He just wants a ballroom. He wants a big land mass that he probably thinks is a lot bigger than it actually is because he looks at the wrong map projection. But you're talking about war between the United States and Europe. And so it's kind of insane that we have to explain this to him and to the American public, but understand that that's where we're at right now. The President of the United States entertaining an attempt to take Greenland by military force, which, by definition, might end up putting the United States in a shooting war with France.
Donald Trump wants conflict with our allies while cozying up to our enemies. That defined his first presidency, and it's clearly defining his second. Above all else, Trump will do whatever it takes to either distract the public or personally benefit himself. Those are always his top priorities. He wants us looking away from his failures while he enriches himself by exploiting ordinary people. That's what the Trump presidency has always been about. And now he's doing it again, this time by pushing reckless ideas like invading Greenland at enormous cost, or wasting billions trying to buy it, which isn't even a realistic option. Senator Chris Murphy laid out just how absurd and wasteful this really is.
Let me ask you about another focus, Greenland. I had the opportunity to speak with President Trump earlier this week. He said he is, quote, very serious about annexing Greenland. In a later interview, he didn't take military options off of the table. And of course, it's an autonomous territory of Denmark, which is a NATO ally. Do you think annexing Greenland would effectively be the end of NATO?
It would be the end of NATO, right? I mean, NATO would have an obligation to defend Greenland, and so query whether we would be at war with Europe, with England, with France. But let's also talk about what's at stake here. The president is spending every single day thinking about invading Greenland, managing the Venezuelan economy, building a ballroom. He is not thinking about the American people at all. This month, Premiums, health insurance premiums on 22 million Americans are going up, doubling in some cases. Kids aren't able to eat 3 meals because the Trump administration has slashed food assistance. And so every single day, the president is thinking about Greenland, his ballroom, Venezuela. He is spending no time thinking about the actual crises that are being visited on American families. This is a president who is distracted by things that don't matter to the American people at a moment where the American people are in crisis. That is the underlying reality of a White House that has become out of control.
Senator,
The man promised to bring down prices. And of course, nobody should have entertained the idea that Donald Trump had any clue what he was talking about when it came to the economy, when he was spouting off tariff, tariff, tariff. It's my favorite word. It's going to fix everything. Liquid gold. Donald Trump likes to find a phrase, attach himself to it, and never shut the up after, which is what he continues to do with Greenland. We need Greenland. Got to have Greenland. We love Greenland. Look at on a map. It's so big and so fancy. And I'm going to call it Trump land. That is what he's after right now, and he'll do anything to make it happen. But senior military officials won't, and it's why Trump is melting down on Truth Social. Trump orders top army officials to draw a plan to invade Greenland. The UK Daily Mail is reporting that Donald Trump, buoyed by the recent strike on Venezuela, has ordered his special forces commanders to come up with a plan to invade Greenland. In a piece published late Saturday, the Mail reports that Trump has asked the Joint Special Operations Command to come up with an invasion plan, but the Joint Chiefs of Staff are resisting because they believe an invasion would be illegal and lack congressional support. The generals think Trump's Greenland plan is crazy and illegal, an unnamed diplomatic source told the Mail, so they are trying to deflect him with other major military operations. They say it's like dealing with a 5-year-old. Trump's pursuit of Greenland has been met with heavy resistance across the NATO alliance as well. We got this report last night. According to reports, Donald Trump has ordered his Special Forces Command to draw plans, but as this article stated, senior military leaders are resisting. This, along with Donald Trump's general desire to go to war everywhere, Trump wrote, Cuba lived for many years on large amounts of oil and money from Venezuela. In return, Cuba provided security services for the last 2 Venezuelan dictators, but not anymore. Most of those Cubans are dead from the last week's USA attacks, and Venezuela doesn't need protection anymore from the thugs and extortionists who held them hostage for so many years. Venezuela now has the United States of America, the most powerful military in the world by far, to protect them, and protect them we will. There will be no more oil or money going to Cuba, zero. I strongly suggest they make a deal before it is too late. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Trump also posted a photo of him on the roof of the White House in black and white and wrote soon. He also reshared this post of him in Cuba with a cigar in his mouth from a ridiculous supporter of his guests getting excited about Trump invading Cuba. This is exactly where Donald Trump's mindset is right now. This is the same man who promised to lower costs, make life easier, and release the Epstein files, which, by the way, we absolutely need to start talking about again because the silence around them lately has been staggering. Instead of delivering on any of that, he's posting bizarre photos of himself late at night, pretending to be the president of Cuba, puffing cigars and basking in his own ego. For what? Because Marco Rubio approves? Because he wants to look like some powerful dictator-in-chief? None of it makes sense as policy. Maybe he thinks it's economic messaging to win back Republicans who are turning on him. But if that's the case, why is he pushing ridiculous ideas like spending billions of dollars to buy Greenland? The only thing that actually makes sense here is distraction. Trump wants us looking anywhere but at Epstein. We're now weeks past the deadline. Pam Bandy is still stonewalling, and Trump's administration continues to obstruct. They may slow the release of the files, but they can't silence Robert Garcia, Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie, or even Marjorie Taylor Greene. And senators like Sheldon Whitehouse are still following the money. He just gave an update, and you'll want to hear it.
Well, they've produced a little over 12,000 documents out of over 2 million documents that they say they still need to review and redact. So, they've been at this in theory for over a year. They came into office promising full disclosure of the Epstein files and that thousands of FBI agents were working on this. So the idea that they had to start from zero and could only get 12,000 documents out once they knew that this law was going to be passed and violated the terms of the law, violated even the report requirement for a report 15 days after the production date, suggests something really went wrong there. And the Inspector General is the person best positioned in the Department of Justice to take a look into whether this was incompetence, whether this was deliberate, whether this was misbehavior. What on earth happened to take this top priority of FBI Director Patel and this top priority of Attorney General Bondi and this top priority of President Trump and not be ready when the day came to actually release the documents? So we've asked the Inspector General to take a look into it. As you pointed out, this is a bipartisan request, and it includes the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Dick Durbin. So I think we have a good chance of getting some attention to it.
Over in the House, the idea of a subpoena for Les Wexner, the billionaire who supported Jeffrey Epstein for many, many years financially, for reasons no one could quite understand why he needed anything from Jeffrey Epstein that was worth paying for. That kind of testimony that no one has obtained from someone like that can really be a breakthrough in this investigation.
Yes. And if the Trump administration had been the least bit serious about getting to the bottom of the Epstein scandal, this is the kind of thing that the Department of Justice and the FBI could have been looking into. The tell here is that over a year later, it took Democratic pressure in the House from the minority to get a subpoena issued, rather than this being something the Department of Justice went ahead and did. It's reminiscent of the Senate Finance Committee under Chairman Ron Wyden, ranking member now Ron Wyden, getting the information about the billions of dollars that flowed through Epstein accounts to foreign countries, to women, mysteriously, producing what are called suspicious activity reports that go to the Department of Justice.
We need to follow the money. That is the priority right now, because Donald Trump, Pam Bandy, and Kash Patel are going to keep obstructing. So we have to focus on the people closest to Epstein, the ones who tried to erase his crimes and clean up his image. And yes, that includes Steve Bannon, who remains very close to Trump and seemed extremely invested in whitewashing Epstein. Their connection mattered, and it needs to be exposed. We're going to keep covering every part of this story right here. And if you want to support that, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and if you stayed with us to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments.